everybody. What's up? Welcome back. I'm trying to get myself to remember what my new title is when I get on here. But anyways, here I am. Welcome back to the Intuitive Life Coach podcast, and formerly known as From Religion to Woohoo. I still am talking and teaching a lot about that part of moving away from religion and deconstruction, and I'm going to use a lot of that understanding in some of my podcasts and what I provide. But I had moved away from that title as I continue to enhance and grow, and my business is growing, and kind of step into my calling a little bit more, as I have really felt more so as I am really coming into my own spirit, getting in touch with my intuition, how I have this desire to intuitively dig into the life's obstacles and provide support in the healing process. Because as a mental health worker who spent many, many years working in the mental health field, I myself, really tried to help other people heal, and I found that there would be clients that just kept repeating the same cycles, or it never seemed to end, or some of the kids I worked with would grow up to be adults that would be involved in crime or struggle with substance abuse. And so I, in my own process of healing, came to the understanding that you can't just focus on one part of a human. You have to focus on the spirit as well, and help the human part get in touch with this, with the intuition that we all have. We all have this ability. And so I provide that insight and help people to connect with that part of themselves, and then hopefully move into their own calling in life. So I was thinking today about shame. I was actually just listening. I'm doing some cleaning out of my house. I'm getting rid of a lot of things, just kind of getting rid of things I am no longer using or I haven't even looked at in years. And also, I'm manifesting a move. I don't know, my spirit feels very excited about this, even though it's kind of scary. And I'm trying to be really smart because Mercury is in retrograde right now, and I know people make really crazy decisions, and I want to make sure that this is lined up with my calling and what I'm meant to do. But I've had some really crazy things come up where I've gotten, in the last year, I've been in my home for 12 years. It will be 12 years next month. And in this last year, I've never had this happen in my 12 years. I've had 3 times people contact me and ask me if I wanted to sell my house. The first time it happened, was way early in the year. And they asked me, well, if you were to sell your house, when do you think you would do it? And I just threw out a date. I was like, I don't know, maybe October. And I was kind of predicting and manifesting a move a long time ago, but I was never in that place where I felt like I actually would do it. And this year I'm starting to really feel that urge to move forward and be somewhere else where I can actually use my giftings a little bit more. But, and then I had another person reach out. So the first person was actually a realtor, just random, hey, I have a client looking for a home. Would you be willing to sell your home? I'm like, okay, maybe in October. And then I had somebody else, I can't remember who it was, but somebody else said something about my home being selling my home. And then just a week ago, I got a message from a friend of mine saying that this company that is just a block from my house, I used to actually work for them, is wanting to buy properties around the neighborhood so they can build parking lot. So at first I'm like, oh God, why would I want to sell my house to somebody to bulldoze it down and build a parking lot? Because I don't know, it hurts my heart. But then I was like, this is the 3rd time this has happened. maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. And so I really am starting to dig into my intuition, just like trying to figure out like what is it that I'm supposed to do. So part of me is hesitant about something like that because, okay, let me be 100% honest. One, I think my house is so freaking cute and I put a ton of work into it. It is really old house. It's like, oh gosh, I would say it was built in the 50s or something. I don't know. It's an old house, but I've really made it cute. I redid the entire porch last year. I have put all this work into it. And so the thought of it like not existing anymore, like really actually breaks my heart. But the funny thing is the thing that I started thinking about on top of my house was my trees. I was like, oh my God, they would like cut my trees down. And that right there was like, if I were to go that route, I would tell them, you've got to leave the trees. You've got to build a parking lot around the trees. Oh, I'm crazy, I know. Anyway, so I'm just trying to tune into my spirit and allow it to lead. There is a location on my heart in the moment that's just really random. I never expected to even want to go to this state. It is pretty far away, but we'll see what happens. I'm open at this point to being led wherever I'm meant to be. So in this, really, getting in touch with things. So I'm cleaning my house out. I'm listening to a podcast, and sometimes what happens is when I go through my day, I start getting these like intuitive hits of like, share this, talk about this, do this. So I'm coming on today after this very long intro to talk about shame and shame cycles and spirals that we get into. And I am like, if I'm like shame, I know, I understand it. I'm trying to think of like a funny title for myself, but like, I can't even think of one because shame is just such a horrible feeling that there's no way to make it like okay. There's no way to like joke about it. There's no way to like title it other than horrific. Like it's just a horrible feeling. And as I was thinking a lot about shame and how it's placed on people, I started thinking about the time I spent in the church. And if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you'll know that I moved away from my Christian religion several years ago and have been really kind of coming into myself and getting in touch with my spirit and moving away from religious teaching. And the deconstructing process is really hard because it makes you really look at what has been programmed into your mind and body from the outside world. And when you don't take a time to really like step back to the perspective of what is happening around you, you get so involved and so like enmeshed with society and the rules and the programs and the way that you're meant to show up that you don't even know that you're in it. I talk about this in my book Leaf Lessons when there's a chapter in there that's called Leaving the Line, Leaf Lesson. And if you haven't read my book, I highly encourage you to get it. Just for that part, like it has a lot of other really great stuff in it, but that part is like, I know for sure that's wisdom from the Spirit, like guiding people to their truth. And, but here's the thing. When we are programmed, even if it's not from religion, but I'm going to speak mostly from that just because I have experienced it. And I've experienced from many other ways, but when we are programmed to live in, let me see if I can word this correctly. We are programmed to live our lives a certain way and believe something is true. And if it's not true, like if we move out of that truth, we get this overwhelming feeling that we're wrong or there's something wrong with us or we are doing it wrong. And this can happen not only in religion, it can happen in your family, it can happen in your jobs, it can happen in your home, like it can happen in relationships, everything. around us, everyone basically comes from this understanding of where they have been before, and trying to connect their truth to what they believe outside of themselves. And so what I found really interesting that popped up in my mind today was how the church uses shame to control people. From things like how you behave, to what you think, to what you engage in, to what you listen to, what you watch, where you go, who you vote for, who you date, who you're friends with, the places you shop. Like, there is so much shame and control that comes from this atmosphere of religious teaching that people that are in it live in constant fear. They may not realize it. What's really amazing is they preach freedom. Find freedom in Christ. Find freedom in God. Find freedom in the church. And then when you get into it, they take your freedom and they tell you that you're free. So, for example, I wrote in my book about this too. The very first thing that I was told that I had to do when I joined the church when I was 16 was give up my music. Because it was not godly. It was not serving my highest good. It wasn't doing, like, I was disobeying God basically by listening to it. And over the years, like, at first when you're that young, especially, and you're really seeking out love and you're wanting to be accepted and you're living in a home full of trauma and all that, you're going to believe what the adults around you tell you. And I believed it. I believed that if I didn't give this up, that I would not be accepted by God. And so the first thing I did was give my music up. And I just had an epiphany. Anyways, but I remember I moved slowly through like 16 up into my 20s. I moved slowly away from like non-Christian music into like giving up secular music. I remember I went to a Bible college right after high school, and I remember in the dorm my freshman year, I had a Fleetwood Mac CD, and I would listen to that blasting in my room. And like, I think about it now and how like I wasn't even aware that everybody around me was like judging that or thought I was like sinful, because they would be like playing their like Point of Grace and like, I don't know, Amy Grant and like all these like people back in the 90s that were like, DC Talk and oh gosh, I can't even think of all of them, but like that was what everybody else was playing. And here I am with my like old school like 70s rock and like listen to Fleetwood Mac and like Janis Joplin and like all this stuff, and somebody must have said something to me, because I remember thinking, I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to this anymore because it's not godly. And over time, I built shame around that. I built shame around the idea of listening to anything outside of Christian music. And it built a fear in me that if I did it, I would not be accepted by God, or I wouldn't be good enough for God. So that's just one example. Another example, and this covers many things, but sex. So under the umbrella of sex, you can't be homosexual, you can't be bisexual, you have to have a sex, it has to be male or female, you cannot masturbate, you cannot have sex before marriage, if you're a woman, you have to concede to sex to your husband, you have to get married in the church. If you're not married, it's very likely that you're not included in many things. Women are meant to have children and to stay home and raise them. Men are the leaders. So within that, the male and female hierarchy, like the men are the head of the household, the head of the church, the head of everything. And so women are seen as a very weak sex that are meant to bow down and serve. So, I mean, I think I just named like 10 or 12 different aspects of control within this. And what is crazy is every single one of these cause shame and fear in people. And without this control system, without this view of, or whatever's been created around this part of people's lives, there is no control. You can't control people when they don't feel shame. So in order to control people, you place shame on them. It's the same thing with being abused in a home. Like, I think back to my own self, like going through sexual abuse growing up, like shame was placed on me because I was told, be quiet, don't share this, don't, if you do, you're in trouble. Like this person was in control of me. My body belonged to them. When they wanted, it was kind of like that shame that comes up because you're being controlled by another human. And this is all over the place. I was, even in this podcast I was listening to a little bit ago, they were talking about abortion. And what is really amazing is we don't get statistics on how many men have abortions. Right? I mean, think about it. A man and a woman, you have to have two people to get pregnant, correct? A male and a female. Like a actual masculine energy body and a feminine energy body. They have to come together and they have to create together. Yet the statistics all focus on women and how many abortions women have had. There are no statistics on how many men have had. And I guarantee you that men probably produced way more abortions than women ever did. Yet there's this shame placed on women and on their bodies for this and not to men. Like we don't shame men for getting a woman pregnant. We actually praise them. And it's like a masculine thing to get a woman pregnant. It's really sick. And so we have all these control systems within the hierarchy of I come from the religious aspect, but it's everywhere. It's in society. It's like this programmed energy, this, what I'm seeing in my head is this foggy, dark energy that has just spread upon the earth and cause people to feel like they have to live underneath this. But what happens is when you free yourself from this cycle and you actually come above that, it's like you're able to change your perspective from being underneath it to above it. And you look back down at it and you're thinking, holy hell, that was all a freaking lie. To keep me in this bubble from seeing the truth in reality of what the universe really is, to see the truth of what love is, to see the truth of what this divine being we call God is, to see the truth of who Christ is and who the spiritual beings are around us, and to see the truth of our own intuition and our own ability to trust our own selves. All that is taken away from us in society, in religion, in programming, because without that knowledge, we are easy to control. We are easy to manipulate. We are easy to shame. And when you are in shame, it's like you become a child and you withdraw and you concede to what another wants. I think about in my therapy process, I've been working through a lot lately with my sexual trauma, and it's so interesting when I would say that, I shared that fog of shame thing. I would say that even when you're in a healing process and you're trying to get out of that, when I'm talking to my therapist about these things, I feel that fog come on me. I actually feel my body shift and shame comes over. And it's like I come back into my little my little child self that has no control at all. Like I concede, and I like get small, and I want to like get away, and I want to run, and I want to like all these things in me, but yet I feel like, oh, I have to like do what I'm told right now, or I'm bad, or there's something wrong with me kind of a feeling. And the truth is a lie, because that's the energy that's been placed on me that I can rise above. And I'm working really freaking hard to get above it. And it's a hard one. So like if you have gone through anything, any kind of sexual abuse or any abuse at all, and you start feeling that shame come on you, know that it's possible to break free from it. It may try to keep coming back, but the more work you do, it will come off. It will. And you'll recognize it when it starts to come. And, you know, I'm in the process of still working through this. So I'm not even saying that I'm like free completely, because even as I talk about it, like I feel my body shifting, because it's just a programmed part of our bodies. It's just so deeply embedded in us. And especially if you went through it as a child, like it just carries with you into your adulthood, and it's almost like it builds. And like for me, like I took that shame from being abused into the church, and I added more shame onto it. You know, I think about the things that they would say that, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, or don't date outside of your faith and religion, don't do this. And it's just like I couldn't do anything. I had to live in this bubble, and I had to concede to everything they told me to do. I had no freedom. Yet they would turn around and say, you are free. Christ sets you free. If you don't act like this, and if you don't follow these rules, you will not be free. So it's like everything is restricted underneath the law and the rules that they create. And it's like they forget, like, even the message that they're trying to teach is all about moving away from that. Like, that's what Jesus came to tell us, was like, we have it in us. We don't have to get it from anybody else or in any other source. We don't have to seek it out from or follow another human for it. We have it inside of us. Our intuition is inside of us. It's just foggy, and it's hard to find it because we've been programmed to not be in touch with it, because we're shamed into feeling a certain way about ourselves, thinking that we have to look outside of ourselves or please another human to find our value. But our value is inside of ourselves. We just have to find it. The Christ-like consciousness that we're actually trying to seek is freedom and peace, and actually feeling good. The law of attraction and manifestation is all like, when we are in that shame, we send that out and we get more. When we are in freedom, we send that out and we get more. So our job as humans is to start breaking down all these shields of shame we have built up, all these cycles of trauma, all these programmed energies that we have allowed into our bodies because we were trying to seek something outside of ourselves unknowingly. And this is, this is not to add more shame. This is actually just to bring awareness to what needs to happen. When you start moving away from that and being guided into the higher energies, and it's like you rise above that fog. Like I actually see the picture, like a picture of the earth, the atmosphere, like the like where I can actually see like this fog on this earth. And when you come above it, there's a lot of talk in the spiritual community about 3D and 5D. And people will say there's other like Ds that you can get to. But so 3D is like considered this fogginess, like where you see everything within the fog. 5D is where you move above this fog and you see things clearly. It's almost like your perspective of everything shifts. You can see light, you can see freedom, you can see frequency, you can feel frequency, you can manipulate frequency, you can change frequency. Like all this stuff and this higher energy is about freedom and liberty and peace and love, and and communion with other spirits. But on the lower energy surface, in the fog, is where we get mixed up and confused in who we truly are. So if you're in this cycle of trying to find your way out of this fog and you're feeling something pull you forward to get out of it, that is your intuition. That is your spirit trying to wake you up. Allow it to happen. If you're finding it's hard, if it's a struggle, trust me, I've had the most horrible thoughts come in my mind as I deconstruct, especially like it's been quite a while actually since I've had a thought like this, but I remember having thoughts of like, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm going to go to hell? What if I'm going to burn in eternal fire? What if this? What if that? What if they're right? What if they're wrong? You know, like all this stuff came into me. And finally, I just had to be like, shut up. Because the reality of it is all inside of me and I can access that. And so what my desire is now is to help other people access that and find that part of themselves and break out of that fog that they might be living in. Whatever it may be. It could be something completely different for another human than it is for me. So, if you're in that place, you want to break free from this cycle of shame, if you want to break free from the fog, if you want to move forward, you want to come back up into the 5D, which is where your spirit originally was from, actually probably some other D that I don't even know about, but then reach out. Like, I for real want to help you with this. I'm getting ready to start my next 6 weeks healing and manifesting course on October 14th. And I want you to feel like you can jump in. And I'm offering this at a very, very low price for what I'm giving. Very low price. And so if you don't jump in now, it's very likely in the future that it's going to be a much higher. And I encourage you to be one of my first rounds. Like, this is going to be my second round of it. And, you know, each time I'm learning more and more. And the more I manifest this, the more I set myself up with the law of attraction, and the more I grow, I'm going to expand my energy, and I'm going to expand the energy I receive back in too. So if you are ready to do the work, and I mean actually ready. If you're not, do not join. I'm telling you, if you're not at a place where you want to actually change and heal, don't do it. I'm going to tell you right now, you are not meant to be my client. Okay? If you are, and that's not any shame for you. I'm just saying, I cannot hold your hand and walk you through it. I will give you the tool. I will teach you how to use it. I will sit with you and hold your hand and cry with you, but I will have to walk away at some point, and you will have to actually do it yourself. I am teaching you how to be your own healer. I am not the one healing you, okay? Because it's inside of you that you find healing. Just like I was able to find healing within my own self, okay? So when you are ready, jump in. It is a very low price. It's on my website, www.leaflessons.org. It's under the courses, and you'll see the one that's going to start in October. So join that. If you don't want to do it in a group setting, if you want some coaching outside of group setting, I do one-on-one coaching as well. I have a few clients I'm working one-on-one with right now. I absolutely love it. It is amazing to watch them transform their lives. It is not always easy because I do intuitively pick up on things that I need. Like, I will tell you this needs to change, or you need to change this mindset, or this is something that's holding you back from your childhood or something like that. Like, things will happen, but if you don't actually do the work, you can't change. So I'm just going to tell you, like, I am a coach that wants to see transformation, and that means that you've got to want to see it for yourself. Okay? It's because I love you and I care about you and I want you to feel good. I'm tired of watching my people and people I care about live in a fog. I'm tired of it. I'm so ready to bring freedom to people in the world. So, yes. And then you can get my book on my website too if you haven't got that, or you can go to Amazon. It's on Amazon as well. Okay, I think I'm done ranting for today. We'll see what happens later. But anyways, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the love that there is in the universe. And I will see you next time. Bye.